Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is a special episode, and we're actually going to talk about Pegomastax africanus. And Pegomastax africanus is actually one of those dinosaurs is actually kind of recently named, and the reason why it was actually recently named is because you see it was actually been actually found uh, in a storage area where it has been ignored through like decades, basically decades, for a good period. Basically, just because scientists haven't actually had a good chance to take a good look at it, and also since this dinosaur is actually kind of not very that impressive in size. It's actually It's actually kind of it's actually based on the order of possibly between probably between 5 to 6 feet long, and was actually been weighed over hundreds of pounds. And it's also a plant-eating dinosaur. And you see the characteristics of this dinosaur is basically kind of actually interesting. Is basically it actually has these very kind of these enlarged like canine-like teeth, and you would think with that kind of teeth, you would actually think it's actually a carnivore, but it isn't. When you actually look at the skeletal structure and all that kind of stuff, and also look at the other parts of the teeth, you actually see that this is actually a plant-eating dinosaur, and you would actually think it's actually kind of almost related to the Heterodontosaurus. And well, it is kind of actually almost related to Heterodontosaurus, but basically it's actually kind of almost an evolutionary step ahead of Heterodontosaurus. And of course, with these two kinds of, but basically with Pegomastax is basically that it's probably it's bipedal. It's actually a bipedal dinosaur, and also it's actually kind of probably agile for its size, and so it's probably going to be very agile. And it's a small dinosaur, so it's actually got a few predators in its environment. It's very hard to tell what kind of predators are actually around it. And then since it's probably been found in Africa, given the name Africanus, probably was found in Africa. And I don't really know that much about that age of that kind of time. It was actually found in rocks, I believe, to be in the border of the Triassic and the Jurassic, and so it's actually right on that border. So it's actually kind of very interesting. And when you actually kind of look at that kind of time period, is when Pangea broke up, and basically it kind of gave birth to the Atlantic Ocean, and so that actually kind of made a difference too. And it's actually during that border of the Triassic and the Jurassic, you actually see a changing of the guard of what kind of animals you actually are going to find there. And basically, during the Jurassic is basically when dinosaurs took over the world. Because basically, when you look at the Triassic, dinosaurs didn't really take over that much, really, because it's basically they're small and also they're very rare. And so basically, majority of the dinosaurs during the time of the Jurassic were actually pretty much small to medium sized. They were not very large at all, and also the top predators were actually archosaurs, terrestrial archosaurs like Postosuchus. Those kinds of archosaurs would actually be the ones that have taken over the world. But when the Triassic extinction actually happened, it's basically that it wiped out the old guard of the reptiles. It wiped out all the older reptiles, and basically the dinosaurs, becoming like a different kind of reptile, actually kind of took over the world. And so basically it's based on the stance and also the brain power of the dinosaurs. And a lot of people would actually think that, well, dinosaurs got so big, they probably used their size and their abilities to survive that kind of extinction. But basically, size doesn't actually have to do it, you know, because basically once you're big, you're actually more vulnerable to extinction. When you're smaller, when you're small in size, you actually have a better chance of surviving an extinction that could actually wipe out animals that are probably like the size of probably like a golden retriever. And so basically, when you actually are smaller than a golden retriever, you're actually more likely to actually survive. And in the case of Pegomastax, it probably did defend itself basically by I think its first main defense would be just to run as fast as it can away from the predator. And so it's not really going to be using the teeth that much. Basically, it might actually bare the teeth if it was cornered by a single predator. If it was cornered by a single predator, it would actually just bare the teeth and saying, "You don't come any closer. I could bite." You know, that kind of way. I look fierce, so don't come any closer. So that kind of actually might have actually had a hand in that. But also an interesting thing about the discovery of Pegomastax is basically that it was actually around the neck area. It was actually kind of like a hairy filament kind of structure, and that actually is a good indication of filament-like feathers. So it would actually indicate that feathers actually evolved a lot earlier than what a lot of people actually did thought. So probably feathers did actually evolve and didn't start evolving until probably like maybe the Triassic. So you might actually probably seen like, because probably if you actually were in North America during the Triassic, probably like maybe like 220 million years ago, you would actually see Coelophysis probably actually having like some of very primitive like feathers, like structure, kind of like a quill kind of like shape, you know, and they were probably brightly colored in that way. So considering that the dinosaurs are actually closely related to birds, the males will be brightly colored, females will be a little bit more duller in color. But we don't know how they would probably behave in terms of like the mating of the mating rituals. I mean, we don't know if like the males displayed to the females, so otherwise maybe the females actually had to do something to actually impress the males. I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, you actually see female species of animals today, they actually advertise to the males. There's some birds today that the females actually try to advertise to the males, saying come over to me, I'm ready to mate, and also and I'm willing to actually have you as a mate, and actually and also help the genes make it to the next generation. So that would actually be the case for that. But even though I mean, we really don't know how it might have behaved in the mating ritual. So that's actually that's still up for debate, and also it's still a long ways away to actually be kind of actually into the paleontology regime. And so it's still new in the paleontology field, and basically it's still ongoing. But of course, the extinction of Pegomastax is basically new herbivores, and also climate actually had to change as well. And so when you're actually a primitive herbivore, and if you can't eat the new plants, and then the new herbivores actually come in and basically eat those plants, you're not going to survive. And also with the climate changes, basically when those plants actually changed, it probably did actually affect how Pegomastax actually probably would have actually thought of that new food source. It probably just thought it's so new, I don't know if I should eat it or not. And basically, if it did try to eat the new plants, then it probably would have just had huge digestional issues, and basically probably wouldn't have actually survived off of those new plants. And of course, when those newer predators came in, and basically the predators actually got bigger, and also they probably got smarter. So basically they basically just probably knew how to actually take care of Pegomastax if they could, because since that it's a primitive kind of herbivore, and basically it could actually be taken down a lot easier. But basically it's mainly new herbivores, and the climate had to change, and basically the climate actually just took its toll on Pegomastax. Alright, that's it for now, and next week we'll actually be an answer questions episode. So if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric animals, feel free to email me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise you can actually post the questions on the comment section on the Facebook fan page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris, and you can actually post the questions in the comment section of any Facebook post that I actually put on. And so basically I'm open 24/7 for any questions. And also you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL, and make sure to take care of the people around you. And also for you younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education, because with a good education you get a good job in the future. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.